Ladies and gentlemen, this is Moogle Babble, episode 13. I am your host, Josh, and with me, as always, is my dear brother, Liam. What's going on, man?
Trying to get to a safe point at the moment so that way I could talk on our podcast.
Yes, if anybody is, well, I'm sure everyone's friends with him on the Facebook. 24 hours ago, give or take, doesn't really matter, got the new Final Fantasy Type 0 with the Final Fantasy 15 demo. So, while you're doing that...
I just saved.
Oh, alright. Anybody who listens to the show would know, it's been a few weeks since we've put anything up because it's just been a little busy. I'm doing another podcast now as well, which is, I think we've talked about it on here before. It's called Game Genie's Podcast. It's with our cousin Ryan and this other cool dude named Corey. I've been very busy talking into a lot of microphones as of late. So, any case, we're going to start this off because it's been a while and I know that we've been all over the place. We're going to start this off with, so, what you playing? Do you want to go first or should I?
You can go first this time.
Okay. Well, I have been playing a couple different games since our last podcast. Right now, the major game I'm playing, despite very little talk by a lot of people, I've been playing Dying Light on PS4, and I love this game. It's great. You know, it's kind of reminds me of Dead Island, but they improved in a lot of ways. Like, the thing I didn't like about Dead Island, it just felt to me like your weapons, no matter how awesome they were, they would break so quick that before I knew it, I'm like, oh shit, I don't have any weapons now, and there's 2 zombies. I'm dead. So it was very frustrating to play that game, and I was disappointed. But no, Dying Light, the further I get into the game, the more I like it. And right now, I'm just running around with basically katanas and hacking limbs off. It's pretty awesome. And besides that, I've been playing a game sparingly, only when my son's around because he has to be here for it. A game for PC called Ori and the Blind Forest. It visually, it's a platformer, and it has got to be, oh my god, it's gorgeous. This game, it really takes the whole idea of gaming as an art form to the next level. The gameplay is it's a platformer. I mean, it's not terribly hard. It's very fluid, and holy shit, the first 5 minutes of the game will make any gamer go, oh, that ain't cool. So, I mean, other than that, I'm actually pretty soon here. I was maybe going to do it tonight, but probably not. Maybe tomorrow. I'm going to be jumping into Helldivers, which is a game that, from what I understand, is very reminiscent of Diablo. Like that type of game, like the hack/loot type thing. That's what I'm told. So, yeah, I've been playing those games on top of, playing PS1 games here and there. Like, I've really got back into playing PlayStation games on my computer. So, That's me. How's it going with you? What have you been up to?
I was playing Metal Gear Solid for a while.
As you very well should.
I'd beat Metal Gear Solid, and I just started the second one. I haven't really done much in the second one. I kind of didn't want to get too far into it because of the fact that I knew that Type 0, Final Fantasy Type 0 was going to be coming out, and I knew that that was going to eat up a lot of my time, and sure enough, it came out last night. I had started it up, see how it looked and how it played out. It was pretty cool. There's a few complaints, but I'll get back to that in a moment. Then I had tried out Final Fantasy 15 because there's a download voucher that comes with the game.
So I gotta ask, because I mean, watching videos of it online, like I don't know, I've always looked at it. It's a little different than playing the game itself. Is it as visually striking as the videos make it out to be?
I thought it was very, very pretty. Like when you start up the demo for 15, it shows your characters inside a tent, and then they open it up and it shows like the outside world, and it's kind of funny in a way because like my first response is like it kind of feels like the scene in Jurassic Park when they first see like the brontosaurus, and you're just like, holy crap, because like you see this huge open world and there's like this little lake and it has these giant monsters. I didn't even try fighting them because I already knew I'd get my butt whooped.
But do you have a strikingly handsome guide such as John Hammond?
I did not. No,
yeah, that's a pretty famous movie around our house.
I was playing the game though, and you know, it makes you do the tutorial for combat right at the beginning part, and there's a few things that are kind of up in the air because I mean, it's one of those games where it's like, you know, you definitely have to play it through when you. It's not one of those games that you can just start it up, play for 10 minutes, and then not touch it for a month, and then go right back to it, and then remember how to do anything. You're gonna die.
Now, it's open world. Now, is it played out the same way with the open battle system as Final Fantasy 12?
That's kind of what it was like. When you're on the map, I mean, it was kind of like Skyrim meets Final Fantasy 12 in a way because, like, it's so open world. You see everything, and it's just so like visually like astounding. But then once the combat starts, it does play a bit like Skyrim because it's so fast, it's fluent. But and then of course, like, if you don't want to fight, you can just sit there and start running away. The enemies might chase you, but what happens is, like, when you're running around and an enemy sees you, like there's a red bar at the top of the screen, and it'll start stretching out towards the corners of your TV. And if it reaches all the way to the end, then that means the enemy is in full aggro. They're going to attack you. You can still run away, but there's a chance that they might follow you. And
probably, I imagine likely pulling anything else that it walks past will probably start following you as well.
Yeah, 'cause they see this giant group, but thankfully there's like there's no like mobs upon mobs that are all gonna follow you. You know, like you would have to run quite a distance. But I think most cases, like when I was playing it, I just got to the point where I was like, no, I don't care to kill these wolves, so I'm just gonna keep running. But some of the stuff that I didn't like with combat was like they told you about some of the stuff with like how your weapons are equipped into your character. Like he doesn't really carry a sword. He manifests it like out of nowhere. Like he pulls out time and space, some Doctor Who shit or something. I don't know. He just like, and you're supposed to equip different ones so that way when he's doing different attacks, it's supposed to like, I don't know, have different types of reactions, I guess. But the problem is that number one, it's like one button is supposed to be like, oh, hold this and you'll be able to dodge, but then hold this button to auto aim, and it's just like you're trying to aim and attack and dodge, and it's just, I don't know, it feels like there's a lot going on all at once, and trying to do it all can get a little bit frustrating. But when you got your targets moving all over the place and you're trying to aim at them and the camera's spinning all around you because you're trying to aim at, and then you're trying to like swing your sword out, oh, it can get really frustrating. I died a few times, and what happens is that your character starts limping around, and either your teammates will use a cure on you, or you can use a potion, but it's just kind of like you're in like the stagger state, and if an enemy keeps hitting you, then you're gonna die. And I died a few times during the demo, admittingly, but
well, it is a different combat system than what you're used to, and
well, it's not only that, but it's like the first time I was going out, like I was trying to kill all these different things and trying to learn the system, and then I was just getting my ass handed to me left and right, and then come to find out, like, oh, I kill all these things, and then there's these specific locations where you can make camp at, and when you go to make camp, number one, your character gains all these buffs like immunity to status elements, they gain higher attack, defense, and EXP boosts, but they also, that's when they cash in all their experience points. So of course, like me sitting here and trying to kill all these things this whole time, I didn't realize that my character was like only level 4.
Gotcha.
So it's like all of a sudden I go to the camp and it's just like, oh, now I'm leveling up. I see. And all of a sudden it's like go from level 4 to level 12 and run around and killing everything a lot easier.
Yeah. Well,
But I thought it was pretty fun. It's one of those games though that I'm kind of a little bit shaky on, because like I really like the demo. I really want the full game to be good, but I'm just kind of nervous that they're gonna do that route of shoving too much stuff at you right from the start, because it's like, okay, here we go again with the political empire, blah blah blah, this is bad, these are all these important people's names, and these are the cities and the factions and the rebellion groups and this group and that group, and they're all it's way too much right at the beginning of any game.
well, and you were saying that that's how you're feeling Final Fantasy Type 0. That's how
that's why I'm concerned, because like Type 0, I mean, we're right at the very beginning of the game. Your city, well, it's not even really your city, but
is it on fire?
it's an important city, is being attacked, and of course your character, your squad is sent in to save it. But it's just like so many different like groups and political groups, character names, just tons of stuff just thrown at you. Like within not even the first hour, I was just beyond confused, because it was like, I have no idea what the hell all these groups are doing. I don't even know who this one girl is that they just showed on the screen. It's like, and then there was this girl who did this, and it was bad. Okay, and then back to this group, and it's like, wait, what? Who's that?
I think I caught her name was Boobs.
Whereas, you know, back with Final Fantasy VI, it was just like, you have the Returners, and you have the Empire. Because, Empire is always the bad guys.
Yeah. See, that's what they should do with one of these games. Like, just to give it a nice little twist, you find out, like, well, no, the Empire is actually good. It's these other douchebags that you thought you were working for that were good. They're actually the bad guys.
It's a lot of like stuff right at the beginning of the game, and I think that it pushes too many people away from the game. Like right from the start, I knew that I was a little bit teeter-totter on how I felt with the game because of the fact that it was just way too much right from the start. And I was like, come on. Like, I understand what they're trying to do, but I need it to be paced out a little bit. Like, don't throw so much out at people, Don't throw out these crazy weird names, and don't throw that. Maybe that's why I loved like Final Fantasy VII so much, because it was like Sephiroth, Cloud, Tifa. I mean, those are like.
Well, even Sephiroth wasn't immediate. Like right off the bat, the only names that you had to know were Cloud, Barret, and Tifa. And then they're going against the Empire basically.
But those were like really, really simple names, and whereas like with these later Final Fantasy games, it just seems like you get some of these characters that have just a clusterfuck of letters thrown together, and it's just like, well, how the hell do you even pronounce that?
Well, that was the problem I had with Final Fantasy 12. I mean, I know that's gonna... Somebody out there's going, what? But I didn't like 12 because of the fact that it just, to me, some of the names of cities and whatnot were just, like, to the point of ridiculousness. Like, okay, I'm never gonna remember this town called 12 letters. It's too much work, and I didn't feel connected to the characters. And I actually played quite a bit of Final Fantasy 12, and I just got to a point where I'm like, yeah, I'm not really feeling this, and it's off.
Right.
So, outside of Final Fantasy Type 0 and the 15 demo, have you been playing any other games as of late? Any specific ones?
No, just because those are like I just have been having so much different stuff going on. I was really, really sick for a while. Was trying to take a ton of different medications. Didn't seem to be helping. And when you're sitting here and you're trying to get better and you're calling off work, it's like, yeah, I mean, it's great that I get to stay at home. Unfortunately, every time I pick up the controller, I just want to like sneeze and cough, and there's no point even trying to play a game.
Well, and that was another reason why we haven't really had any podcasts lately, is because you were sick there for like, it seemed like 2 weeks.
Oh, I'm still sick.
And my family, we had a round of plague in our house that went around for a while, so getting on a microphone and talking for a while is like, you're like, no.
Right.
So, well, cool. So that's what we've been doing lately with video games. It's always changing. There's always new games to play. Sometimes it's really hard to keep up with all of them. So, moving along here, we have a couple different things we could talk about. First, I figured I would talk about the new PlayStation update. Just a couple things I saw on there, and because for the most part, I mean, it's not a major update. It's just called It's just 2.5, and for the most part, it's kind of a lot of For some people, it's a big deal. Like, I'll just kind of go through the list and then kind of chime in for certain things. They did have it so sub-accounts, any kind of a sub-account can be made into a master account once the person who owns the sub account turns 18, which, I mean, let's just be honest, they have no way of proving that you're not 18, or, you know, so any sub account can go to a master account. There is also a Facebook friend search that you can do on there, which is stupid. I don't even care about that. You know what? I'm just gonna say the things I care about. One of the newest features, like when we had tried to do the share play, it was at the beginning, like the day it came out, we had little to no luck with it. And I think maybe it was because of the fact that there were so many people who were trying to do it. But the problem before was that it kind of ran like butt no matter what. So, one of the cool new features, the remote and share play will both supposedly be boosted to 60 frames per second, which for anybody, I mean, of course it's gonna come down to, you know, how good your connection is, but if you're, you know, at work and you're on break and you have a really good connection and you're trying to play your game, that's going to be awesome. You know, and if share play works a lot better than our experiences and it's actually running at 60 frames per second, that will make the experience that much more enjoyable. So,
I'm really skeptical on any of that stuff, just because of the fact that we both had really strong internet connections, and yet it was bad.
But I still think that it was only because the fact that it just went live, and I have to imagine everybody and their cousin was like, "Oh, we gotta check out the share play feature," and so it was probably the system was probably just bogged down. I mean, I don't know. I've heard other people haven't had any problems with it, so
you know, maybe it's just because we have like so much other stuff like connected to our internet here. I don't know.
It could be a magnitude of different things. But I think with this update, the coolest thing, and something that I know personally a lot of people have had problems with, is you play a lot of games, you test a lot of like the PlayStation Plus games, and you don't really play it much, and you're just like, this game kind of blows. The problem is, you started playing it. Immediately once you start playing a game, if it has trophies in it, it automatically goes into your system, and so when you check your trophy list, you have this ridiculously long list of games where a good portion of them you see trophies 0, and it sucks because it just takes that much longer for the list to load and whatnot. Well, Sony implemented a option to remove the games from the trophy list that have 0% completion. Personally speaking, I kind of wish maybe they could implement something that was more like, you know, up to a certain degree, like, oh, if you have, you know, up to like, 15% or less, you can remove them from the list. You could still keep the fact that you have, we'll say, 3,723 trophies. You can keep that, and you keep everything else, but just remove it from the list.
Right.
You know. But that's just me being nitpicky, and I know I've had a few games where it's like I got like maybe 2 trophies in it, and I was like,
Yeah, it would be nice to remove pretty much any game that's less than 10%.
Right. Now, if only they could, there's just one feature, and I know you don't care for it because you're fine, but the one feature I'm just shocked and appalled that Sony has not put into play, because it is the #1 most requested feature, and that's to change your PlayStation ID name.
Well, I think the reason for it is probably because of what all like content is linked with your name.
The thing is Xbox is able to do it. I mean, all your achievements and whatnot transfer with it.
But there's probably more to it than what we know. Because, I mean, it's not something that I can really say, oh, I know the exact reason why. Because, no, I don't know the technical aspects to it. There might be, like, a really good reason behind it.
There was one thing I remember reading that Sony execs were having a hard time with, and that was that you would have certain people that would, get banned from games because they, language or whatever, it doesn't matter. They're concerned that these people, by being able to change their IDs, would be able to get back into those games and troll or do whatever it was that they were doing to get them banned. And I was like, what if... I have to imagine that outside of an ID, like, we can name it whatever, Fudge Popsicles 273, but Fudge Popsicles 273, I have to imagine has an actual ID number in their database. So it might be like 274198634. Maybe associate that number. I don't know. You're right though. It's hard, and I'm sure there's a reason. And I'd have to imagine that they have and are considering doing it, but the question is how. Because I feel like Sony could make a lot of money. Like, hey, charge $5 to do a name change, and you're allowed to do that name change once every, 6 months or something.
I mean,
I know, like, personally, I'd probably change mine. I don't even know why I set mine the way it was. I don't even remember. But I've had the same ID for years.
Well, it was like that was like your joke back in the day, because you were obsessed with Bob.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, and then the last part's actually a homage to Brian May from Queen. And actually to this day, I still most characters or most games I can play, if I can name the main character and it's a guy, it's usually Bob, because that's ferocious.
Years.
So, but yeah, that's gonna be the new update. I'm not sure exactly when it goes live, but I think just the trophy thing alone, I'm excited for that, just to condense the list down a little bit. So, because sometimes, like, if you go into your trophy list, it has to load everything, and it's like, fuck me, it takes forever.
See, maybe people should have came up with cooler names for their PlayStation accounts, and then they wouldn't have to change it.
Like CM Punk 619.
Like, my username is pretty awesome.
Not all of us got a PlayStation 3 the night it came out. So yeah, I guess that's the new update. Get it? It's cool. Moving along, though, I think we need to talk about Nintendo.
More like Nintendo don't.
Yeah. So there was, I'm not sure if it was today. Today's when I saw it, so I'll kind of go with that. Today, I caught news of Nintendo. I'm very frustrated with them because they decided two things. One, Nintendo is now going to be releasing and making games for cell phones. Barf. No, don't do that. Don't do that. But more,
I think it's not set in stone, but it's something that they had mentioned that they're looking into.
Oh no, from what I saw, they are definitely going to do it. Like, and they could easily put Super Mario Brothers. Oh Christ, they can put that on iOS, charge $5, and people will buy it.
It makes you wonder though, like, will Nintendo be making their games so that way they're compatible with Android and iOS, or are they gonna sit there and just make it iOS so that way you can stab Microsoft?
That's a good point. I wouldn't be surprised, to be honest, if they did that. And it would suck because, I mean, there's, I'm sure, just as many, Android users as there are iOS. But they might be like, oh, well, iOS users, they have money. They have an iOS phone. They bought an Apple phone. So logically, they have more money. Disposable income. But other than that, which is, I think it's kind of dumb, but the big thing I saw today, and I'm sure a lot of people have also, and it makes no damn sense. Nintendo announced that they are working on a new system. Okay. Wii U is an abomination as far as sales are concerned. They have no extremely massive titles that people are going, oh Christ, I gotta buy this system now. There are games. There are games that, by all means, I still want one. I do. There are games that I would love to play, like Smash Brothers and stuff. So, but let this system gain something. Because of the fact that they announced that they're working on a new system, my question is, are they gonna oh well, we decided we're gonna wait to put out Legend of Zelda, and we're gonna put it out for the new system instead. Or they might even be like every other fucking company, like Nintendo, or Sony and Microsoft, be like, well, yeah, so these games came out for PS3 and Xbox 360. We want to make more money, so we're gonna re-release it, because every fucking game has to be re-released now,
My comments about that though is with the Wii, at least they gave it quite a bit of time, but it's like Wii U doesn't seem like it's been out that long, and already it's like, wait, you guys are already want to release another console? How about instead of trying to fix your problem by throwing another new console out, why don't you work on making this one so that way people actually want to give you guys money? Anybody that buys a new 3DS, I just want to smack them upside the head and be like, why did you do that? Because it's you're basically giving them money to fuck you over. You're gonna give them money for a new 3DS, and then it's 5 months later they're gonna have the new 3DS XL, and then a year from now they'll be like, oh well, now we have the new 3DS Deluxe XL Extreme.
Yeah.
And it's oh.
Well, and that's the part that really just kills me, because I think we've established in all of these podcasts, we're not against Nintendo. We're not. We actually, that's what we grew up on. I think I've stated more than once that Super Nintendo is my all-time favorite gaming system. Nintendo is great. But it just seems like in the past few years, they haven't been doing much service for their fans. There's a lot of game series floating out there that haven't been touched. They need a little love.
When you go to GameStop and it's just like the Wii U shelf is barely has any content on there.
The only
And
thing
it's
that's
just like-
selling when it comes to Wii U are the fucking amiibos. Like, that's a fact. And even that, it just... maybe it's me? Has the amiibo thing slowed down a little bit?
Yes and no. It's still a pretty hot trend, but it just depends on who you're talking to and like the market, because right now Japan is re-releasing a lot of the ones that originally came out that were sold out and hard to get. So it's kind of like, you know, all these people are like, oh well, I have a Lil Mac and I'm only gonna sell it for like $100. Well, now you could just order it from Japan and, you know, pay 15.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's good for people like Kiki who, you know, that actually want to collect them all. Sucks for those guys that like were douchebags and went and bought basically like all the like Rosalinas and stuff.
Yeah, I mean that story is definitely well known with quite a few people. Is that dude had spent $1,000 just trying to buy all the Rosalina toys just to prevent fans from getting her, just because he hated her that much. It's like, you know, I've hated games and game characters, but I would never spend $1,000 doing that, you know?
Makes me wonder if like he's the guy who's like already like super rich, like he's some super rich guy's son and just has disposable income and went out and just did that, just and it didn't even like phase him.
It makes you want to be his friend, just so you can be like, oh well, people really like Metal Gear and you should hate Metal Gear and go buy all the Metal Gear stuff and then give it to me.
Nice. Yeah, that would be pretty cool actually. But you know what? I don't know. I wouldn't want to be friends with a person like that anyways, because, well, yeah, let's just face it. You know, obviously he's a dick. But
Well, yeah, obviously he's gonna be a jerky jerk face, but I mean, if he's gonna be a jerk, then there's no reason not to be a jerk to him and use him to get him to buy you all the, you know, Metal Gear stuff and give it to you.
right? Oh man, Nintendo.
I just don't like that a lot of their decisions are just really irrational. Like, their 3DS was doing perfectly fine. They didn't need to release a new system for it. And it's just like, they did that just to try and get more profit, you know? Like, oh, well, see, we're ahead of the game. It's like...
Well, and it's no secret that Nintendo is financially, they're still all right. You know, they are set. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I truly believe that Nintendo, because yes, they have the money and they can make the systems and whatnot, but no one really cares, I feel like, about the systems. I mean, they care more about the characters in the games, if that makes any damn sense. You know, whereas you start looking at the other side of the coin, you have PlayStation and you have Xbox. Well, and I mean, if you really want to get technical, we'll even throw in PC. At that point, it's, you know, people care more about the systems than they do, you know, like with Nintendo, it's not so much about the system, it's the games. And so I think that Nintendo just maybe do the handhelds because those do well, But maybe just start to do games for the other systems, and maybe you don't have to sell your big one like Mario, but why don't you let maybe Sony or some other company that will make games for Sony, let them make a Metroid game. We haven't seen a Metroid game yet for Wii U, and I know that that's a series that a lot of people will be like, oh shit, there's no Metroid game? Yeah, I'm buying it because it's Metroid. But or maybe letting Bayonetta 2 come out for a Sony system. Or I mean, even Xbox, doesn't matter.
It really does suck though, like to sit there and that a lot of the games for Nintendo are just so lackluster. Like Bayonetta 2 could have came out for these other systems, and it may not have been like the #1 game of the year for those systems, but would have done a lot better than on Nintendo. They're all sitting here wondering why the game didn't sell a whole lot, and it's like, well, you're selling it on a kid-friendly system where most people are buying the Wii U for their kids, not, oh, well, we're getting it so we can look at girls in latex pants and look at booty all day, And
it's funny too, because any person that I've seen reviews from or talked to about it, they've all said like, oh man, Bayonetta 2, that is good. That's some good finger licking stuff right there. So obviously it's going to be a great game because the Bayonetta games are great, but the system it came out for, unfortunately, is not exactly the system that it should have been out on. And then it's just like you sit here and you ask any Nintendo fan, like, oh, well, what games are you looking forward to? Zelda. It's like, okay, well, what else? Zelda. It's like, so you have no other games at all that you want to play for your Wii U? Zelda? Legend of Link?
Because you're not hearing anybody to sit here and be like, oh my god, new Mario Party.
No, they're too busy thinking about Monster Hunter 4.
Which is on 3DS, not Wii U. So
right.
again, there's nothing for Wii U at all. Like, I know that everybody could sit here and be like, well, you're wrong, there's Smash Brothers. It's like, oh, you mean that game that nobody cares to talk about anymore?
Well, and you know what the thing is, though? You're still forgetting one major detail here. You're talking about just a couple individual games. Now, why should someone dump $300 some odd for just a couple individual games? That seems really bad for marketing. Like, as much as I, as an individual, would like to play, yes, Smash Brothers, New Legend of Zelda, Mario 3D Land, stuff like that. And I know that there's that Mario Level Creator game coming out, which, as a classic Mario player, of course, I'm like, oh, I want to play that. That looks like a lot of fun. And I mean, there's a couple other games I spotted. But yeah, you talk to any or most people about the Wii U, and all you don't even hear them talk about like those Mario games. All it is Smash Brothers, or at least it was. But all it is Legend of Zelda. Every single one is like, oh yeah, New Legend of Zelda. Yeah, this sounds really good. Yeah, I can't wait to play it and stuff. Man, that's bad. Like, what else does Nintendo have? And they're already talking about making a new system? Like, bros, you gotta like make games for the system you have out. The Wii U is still a great system. I mean, it can push out great, beautiful games. Why are you making a new one? Unless you are jumping ship from the kid friendly, and you're starting to go more, okay, we need to make games more like the Xbox and the PlayStation. We need to get serious. If they do that, because yes, the PS4 has been out a while, the Xbox One has been out a while, so of course because of that there's been since better graphics cards, you know, there's been all this and that. Can Nintendo do it? Yes, they can. Will Nintendo do it? No, they won't. Because even the Xbox and the PlayStation, there's no games to really push the limits. Yes, there was the Order 1886, which visually you're not going to find anybody that says, oh, the game kind of looks like butt. No, it's a beautiful looking game. But that is all it is it's a beautiful looking game. Otherwise, it plays like garbage, and it's, you know, from what I understand, you can beat the game and plat the game within 10 to 12 hours. So, yikes. But a game like that basically opens the doors, you know, for other games. You're like, oh, you know, we can do this. Like, I'm fully anticipating Metal Gear 5, the Phantom Pain. I'm expecting that game to come out and for me to put that in and go, oh, yes. Oh, that's pretty. But usually Metal Gear games come out towards the beginning of a system, you know, the life of a system, and set that bar early on. Now, PS4 is not an old system by any stretch of the imagination, and I would like to think that there is a chance of another Metal Gear game to come out before the PS4 runs its life, and that game will even be probably prettier than Phantom Pain. And then that's usually how it goes. Like if you look at every Metal Gear game, like, because you had 2 come out for the PS2, and that was like, oh cow. But then 3 came out, and it was like, oh wow. They made that one look like kind of bad. So, although technically the only Metal Gear game, well, yeah, because you had Guns of the Patriots, which is mind-numbing, and then there was the Raiden game, which, so, but I think that Nintendo can save itself, but it just seems kind of silly for them to. Like, why put out a system that would be graphically better than those 2 other systems when they even haven't came close to their full potential? So,
all I know is that I really think that Nintendo should stop trying to push for new hardware and start working with what they have. It's kind of the same thing with like the Sony and Xbox products. Like you've seen them like go for 5-6 years, and even with PS3 that came out in 2006, and it still has games coming out for it, and it's doing freaking awesome. And it's like, you know, all these Nintendo fans could be all like, say whatever the hell they want about Wii U having, oh, well, look at this game, it looks great, it looks beautiful, blah, 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 it's like superb. And it's like, if it's so superb, then why are they trying to make a new system already? Whereas at least with the PS3, it had quite a long run, you know?
Well, and like you said, there's still games coming out for it that look great. Look and play great. I mean, and that's the thing that's kind of nice for anybody who doesn't have a PS4 yet, or, you know, even an Xbox One, doesn't matter. Anyone who doesn't have it next gen, like, they're still putting games out for those old systems that are visually there. Playability is definitely there, and where some games that you if you buy them digitally, it's like, oh, you're getting that cross feature, like, oh, because you're buying it on, you're buying it for 3 systems, like PlayStation Plus. A lot of those games, oh, you can play on cross-platform. So I like that that Sony has been at least really cool about having that feature. Although I would like to see, like, I know Diablo 3, you can't, like, cross-platform play, whereas, like, Helldivers, like, I'm hearing, like, oh yeah, you can have somebody on their Vita, someone else on their PS3, a PS4, because you can have 4 players play at once. Like, it doesn't matter. Everyone's playing the same game. And I wish that they could do that with some of these older games, but, I mean, whatever. That's fine. So, alrighty. Well, so here we are at the end of another Nintendo rant, and I just want to digress the fact that we do like Nintendo. We love Nintendo games. But I think it's mostly the Nintendo of yesteryear when they cared about their fans and made great games for their fans, and they weren't selfish pricks. So Nintendo stopped being pricks. Xbox, yeah. Sony, keep up the good work, man. You guys are doing great. So, alrighty. Well, let's close this up, and yeah, hopefully you enjoy continuing to play that Final Fantasy game, and it becomes more memorable for characters. And if, like I said, if anybody who listens to this doesn't listen, I also do another podcast called it's Game Genie's Podcast. I will probably post a link, and with that we are usually, it's every week. Every week there's new episodes, so a lot of cool stuff on there. Yeah. All right. Well. Yeah. Woo, yeah. All right. All right. We'll see you later.
Later.